Hello, everyone, and welcome in. So, for the Mercury retrograde edition, I got through 3 of the signs and realized that apparently my webcam part was not working correctly. So, jumping into what the reading was, and this is for Thursday, September 7th. These were the cards that I had pulled for the first ones, and I felt like I was really connecting in, and then all of a sudden things were out of alignment. So I will go ahead and I'll pick up in the middle here, but I'll go through the ones that I've already done. So the cards, it was Temperance and Page of Wands and King of Wands. So this was the overall energy for the collective for today. And so the Page of Wands, that's kind of that excited energy and optimism and happiness and all of that. The King of Wands is kind of more of that authority type of energy and leadership and loyalty, and you're rising up and you're meeting these challenges. And then Temperance is about keeping them balanced. So as these challenges are coming up, being able to kind of keep in that balanced mindset of, yes, you're happy, but you're not letting it kind of run away with you. So I had started out with our fire signs, and here were the cards that were pulled for the fire signs. So I'll go through them one at a time. The Emperor energy, and that is that divine masculine energy where you're sitting in that kind of authoritative type of state. And then we have our intuitive communication, silent whispers of the heart. And so this was really about, like, how do you balance your divine masculine and divine feminine, especially so since we have this King of Wands energy coming up in general for the collective, that's kind of similar to that Emperor energy. And we do have, this one is full moon in Capricorn, the end of a tough cycle approaches. So as this tough cycle is approaching, or is approaching its end, is making sure that you're staying balanced in that energy, that intuitive kind of feminine energy from this Gaia card here, but then also keeping that in balance with your Emperor. And, because you want to make sure that as this tough cycle nears its end, and endings can be scary. So sometimes there's that inclination to, you get really close to the end and all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, I'm scared of change. No, maybe I need to do something else. Maybe I need to go a different direction. Do I really need to change things? And so it's probably a cycle that you've been on before, where it's like it starts to get close to the end of something and then you lose your nerve and around you go for another loop. So make sure that you're in this divine masculine energy and this intuitive communication part, the silent whispers of the heart. This tough cycle that's ending is one that it's ending for a reason, because it's getting you off of the path that's no longer serving you and onto the path that you're more, I guess, destined and fated to be on. But you do have to have that moment of strength, that moment of courage, kind of that King of Wands, at where you're meeting the challenge of, like, being concerned about the future, but then let some of the happiness come in, because it's not going to necessarily be bad. And then this says new love, a new person has stirred your romantic feelings. So whether that's the, I guess, catalyst for some of these other changes, the end of whatever tough cycle is approaching, or whether that's, maybe it's a tough cycle in a different way. Take it as it resonates with you. Then next we moved on to our earth signs, which is our Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, and the strength card came up again. And that's something that I feel like the strength card has come up a number of times for our earth signs. And so a hidden gift was our jumper card. And then the one I pulled was, so with hidden gift, it's sadness and ending, a new beginning. And reflection was the one I pulled, which is illusion, self-examination, and distortion. So with this one, remember, we've looked at this before, you have the moon showing up above the waterline, but in the reflection, it's distorted because there's 2 of them. And there's really not. I mean, you can clearly see there's only one. But sometimes when we're reflecting on things, we're doing it through an unfair lens. We're biased, so we're looking at it in a different way. So this is kind of encouraging you that with this hidden gift, like this ending that's coming up, use your strength to really see the situation for what it is. So maybe Maybe it's something where you've thought about it before with this ending and you've kind of avoided it because in whatever reflection you have in your mind, it's this idea of, oh, but I have to be here because this is what I've always done, or I have to do this because this is what I've always done. And even though it might be hard to get past that initially, it is a hidden gift when you can break out of cycles like that. So especially as we start to put this together with these energies, like with your King of Wands energy, and that's about meeting challenges and kind of that leadership. You do want to balance it out and not be totally cold and cut off, but there is some excitement, some happiness that comes on the heels of some of these changes. And this whole thing of nothing is yet set in stone. So it could be, especially as you're looking at the reflection part, because we have the waters in both of them, as you're looking at the reflection, that maybe some of the distortion is related to that you think, if I do this, then absolutely this will happen next, but nothing is set in stone. So maybe this isn't what happens next. Maybe this is what happens next. So that's kind of that reminder that, yes, even if things are destined and fated, there is that element of free will. Now, keep in mind, if there are certain lessons that you decided before this incarnation that this is the lesson you are learning, you can't just decide, oh, I'm not going to learn this. I've decided I don't want to do this anymore. It's kind of like if there's a class that you have to pass to graduate high school, you don't just get to say, I changed my mind. I don't want to take civics class or whatever. And then you just get a free pass and okay, that's fine. You don't have to take it because you don't want to. No, if you fail that, you're going to have to keep taking it over and over and over again. So it's kind of like that with lessons. Like you're going to have to keep taking them until you learn whatever you're supposed to learn, incorporate that into how you're appearing in the world, how you're conducting yourself, how you're behaving, whatever. Until you incorporate what you've learned, you're just going to keep looping. For the jumper cards, and so for our earth signs, this reconciliation card was a jumper card. Someone from your past is returning to your life. And then also the honeymoon card. Enjoy the bliss of holiday time together. So whether that's an actual romantic partner coming back in, or whether that's manifests a little bit differently for you, that was what was coming up for the earth signs. Then we moved into our water signs. So we had the tower here. And the tower is about big dramatic changes that will kind of fundamentally or structurally change the way you're appearing in the world, I guess. So it's not necessarily just, it's a subtle mindset change. It's usually something more dramatic. So then your Gaia card was peace, dissolving unwanted or disturbing thoughts. And that could be related to this tower, whether it's a total shift in your mental practices, like, hey, the tower moment is I'm now, I've had this enlightening experience and I am now incapable of lying to myself the way that I used to. Or if it's just a matter of, you're working on making peace with what this tower represents. So, if it's that you say your relationship ended and this dissolving unwanted or disturbing thoughts is kind of like, okay, I'm going to stop telling myself it's the end of the world. I'm going to stop telling myself that I'm never going to be happy again for the rest of my life. I'm going to tell myself positive things. And then the moon card that jumped out was you are good enough. So then the one I pulled was step out of your comfort zone. And with this is definitely the you are good enough is related to this dissolving unwanted or disturbing thoughts. Because if you're sitting in a lack mentality of, I'm just not good enough. Of course, I'm never going to be happy. Of course this, because, nobody cares. You're not going to attract high level experiences in this world because of the fact that you're telling yourself all these, I'll call them mean things. Then the romance card was deception. Someone is wearing a false mask in this relationship. So if this is, and this feels like it's relationship related. So I did draw 2 other cards from the regular full tarot deck to get some clarification on this tower. And it's Justice and 6 of Pentacles. So it's funny because the 6 of Pentacles is usually about being very charitable and generous. And in this deck, it is this little kid dressed up as a devil, raiding the cookie plate there. But this deception is triggering this justice and triggering this tower. So when you put these together, you know, something's got to give. If there's this deception that's happening, and whether that's romantic relationship, at work, whatever, if there's this deception that's happening, the universe is stepping in and saying, you know what? No, we're going to balance the scales. Justice is coming in the form of the tower. It's coming in to level everything. And it's going to be a generous thing, because the situation, the path that you were on before, where there was this, deception and these lies, somebody's wearing a false mask, is hurting you. And that is not a good thing for you. So the tower coming in is actually a generous, favorable occurrence coming in from the divine. So let's move on. Last but not least, we have our air signs, and that is our Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. Let's see what is coming up for you for today. All right. The moon. This one has been coming up a little bit lately. It seems like for the last maybe week, it's kind of calmed down a little bit. But the moon, the moon card, it kind of has two different meanings. One of them is similar to this deception card. The idea of, something's happening in the darkness of night, kind of by the light of the moon, like people sneaking around, like that sort of illusion, deceptions. But it also has to do with your doubts and your fears and your insecurities. And so this is something where I would say you're being reminded again not to let those doubts and fears and insecurities run rampant. Then this says the message: positive news, positive outcome. So let your mind settle. Don't let it go off on its little tangents here where it's telling you these lies and telling you these things. All right, let's see. The energy is gaining momentum. And this is something with this message, this positive message, positive outcome, that it's gaining momentum. And that's in, let's see what's coming out with our romance card here. Just a second. Give your relationship. Okay, so it's saying work on your partnership, but it's interesting. I think this is a typo on this card. It says give your relationship a change, but I think that is supposed to say chance. Let's see, can it focus on here? So I think it's supposed to say chance there, even though it's technically saying change. And sometimes, and let's go with the typo part of it. Sometimes changing it a little bit is the way of giving it a chance, because if you're always doing it this way and you're experiencing some frustrations, or you feel like you're kind of in a rut, or you're looping on the same arguments, things like that, give it a chance by giving it a change. Like just introducing a new thought pattern into how you're interacting with your partner can sometimes be enough to, change the flow, change the direction of that conversation. So with this, and I would say this is not so much that somebody is deceiving you and you need to be on the lookout for somebody deceiving you. I would say this is about your fears and your doubts and, worrying, but what if things happen like this? What if it plays out like this? You worrying and running the scenarios in your head is not going to change the outcome. It's just going to drive you nuts. And so, give things a chance, allow them to change as they need to, because there's positive news, there's positive things coming, and that energy is gaining momentum. So you need to try to, push down your doubts and fears and let the universe kind of take control of the situation and let it move forward the way it needs to be moving forward, because it is moving forward in a positive direction for you. So I hope you found today's message to be helpful. And again, sorry, I have no idea what happened. I pushed the button and it made the the noise that it always does when it starts, but I looked down and the counter wasn't running. So if it seemed a bit strange when I was going over the beginning stuff, I guess that's Mercury retrograde for you. So I'll be mindful of that tomorrow before I get too far into it. But as always, take only what resonates with you and leave the rest. And I will be doing some other different types of videos that'll post this week as well. So keep an eye out for those. If you want to be alerted when those new videos post, hit the subscribe and notification bell. And otherwise, I wish you peace and joy along your journey. And we'll see you next time.